Going into the open results, tournament leader Fabiano Caruana drew with a wonder Liang after an interesting game in the Italian. The only decisive result came from Lanier Dominguez, who overturned a dangerous position to defeat Sam Sevian. With 2 rounds to go, Caruana continues to lead with 5.5 points, followed closely by a wonder Liang at 5, with Ray Robson, Levon Aronian, and Hans Niemann all tied for third with 4.5 points each. Taking a look at today's games, we'll start with the game between Caruana and Liang, which started off as an Italian game, knight f6, d3, and this one seemed to follow pretty normal theory for the first several moves. But here after knight g6, rook e1, rook e8, Caruana spends a lot of time here and plays d4 in this position, which may have been him misremembering his prep. I'm not exactly sure what happened here exactly. Engines give white a very, very tiny plus here after bishop to c2. After d4, the issue is black takes on d4. White grabs the bishop on b6, a takes b6, c takes d4, and black can take this pawn on e4, which a wonder does. Now, white's idea here is to win back the pawn. Bishop takes f7 check, which is played. King takes f7, rook takes e4. But this doesn't seem to give white actually any real advantage. All he's done is won his material back, and it seems like black is actually pretty solid here, and is certainly not worse. So wonder took on e4. He had other options as well. Knight g5 check, knight takes e4. White has won back the material, but the position is basically equal. However, the game does continue for a bit here. Queen d4, queen f5, bishop e3, knight e5. Now Caruana goes queen to e4, but with this move he's actually going into a worse endgame. The engine here actually starts to like black. He could have made a lot of other moves here. I think f3, b3 in the position is reasonable, but queen e4, maybe not the best decision here by Fabi. Now black had some chances with knight to d3, possibly knight c4. Instead, a wonder goes rook a5, knight c3, and b5. Also an interesting way to play, as black starts to play on the queen side, but white goes b4 here, bishop to d2, and now c5. And with this move, things actually just start to kind of liquidate. White could have kept more chances alive with something like king to f7 or knight to c4. After c5, white takes on c6, goes knight to e4, knight c4, and a lot of stuff here starts to get traded off. After f3, bishop f5, knight g3, and now a4. And at this point, black doesn't really have any more winning chances. And pretty soon here, the players just found a way to trade everything off. Rook d4, rook c8. And eventually we got into this endgame, which, of course, was soon drawn. So with that game, Caruana stays in the lead. He's half a point ahead of a wonder who's in clear second place with 5. Only decisive game of the day actually happened in this one between Sevian and Dominguez. And this was actually a rather sharp position, came out of the English, but actually ends up in this position, which more resembles an open Sicilian. At this point, Sevian goes a3, and he forces black to take on c3. Dominguez gives up the bishop pair, and we get a very, very double-edged position where white has these weakened pawns on the queen side, but of course is very active with the 2 bishops. So bishop g2, queen c7, castles, bishop a6, and now g4. Very, very fun play from Sevian, who's looking to go g5, and then rook f3, rook h3, lifting the rook to the h-file, and then bringing the queen in with queen h5. Dominguez plays knight d7, rook f3, and now he kind of panics here with this move f5, trying to avoid getting mated. At this point, white should have taken immediately on f5 and pushed g5. The engine was giving this as being very, very advantageous for white, stopping black's knight from coming to f6, and then getting ready to play rook h3 and bishop d5 check next move. It's very, very dangerous for black's king. You can already see ideas of mates of rook takes h7 and queen h5. But this was a missed opportunity. Sevian goes rook h3 instead, but now knight g4, knight f6, g5, knight to g4. Black is able to activate this piece. White is still better here, but things get very, very complicated. Now Dominguez breaks with d5. Sevian grabs this pawn. It was rook to g1, knight e7, and with this move, Dominguez is making a practical decision to sacrifice the rook on a8. Now at this point, white is better according to the engines if he plays the move rook to e1 with idea to meet bishop check with knight to f3, and black has a bit of compensation here, but it seems like white is still doing well with the extra exchange. Instead, we saw bishop to d4, But now check knight f3 and knight g6. And all of a sudden, the position is completely turning around. Knight takes f4 is a big problem. And yes, Sevian wasn't able to defend this position from here. He goes queen to e6, but this pretty much loses the game after knight takes f4. Takes on f5. Black takes the rook on h3. Rook takes g4. Now black is not yet up material, but has this huge pin along the diagonal. And he goes queen to e7 here. Very, very strong move by Dominguez, threatening rook to f8 and targeting this knight on f3. Sevian tried rook to g3, but now queen e1 check. Nice move using the pin. King to g2, queen e2 check. If the king goes back to h1, there would be queen f1 check, and the black is actually winning. For example, bishop g1, knight f2 is mate. Otherwise, the knight on f3 drops. So Sevian takes on h3, but now there's bishop c8, and black wins the queen. So queen takes, rook takes, white has 2 pieces for the queen, but it's really not enough. And Dominguez showed good technique here to convert. Rook f5, check, takes, king takes, white's rook is pinned. He can't take on g7, which would have been a nice mate, and the knight is hanging. And black is threatening rook h5 check and rook f3 check and so on. And so it's game over. So nice win by Dominguez. Very, very sharp game, but he picks up the only decisive result of the day. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.